Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first Friday with Pam. I hope everybody's doing well. And I'm just waiting for a couple of people to say hi, and then I will know that we are good. Let's see. Oh, I can't type very well. I guess maybe we'll wait a couple minutes to see if we are live and if people can hear me and see me. I hope that you can. Let's see. All right, let me see why I can't see the comments. There we go. Hi, Regina. Hi, Karen. Oh, good. You guys can see me, so that's good. I don't know how many people are watching, but we have a couple of people jumping on, so that is great. Hi, everybody. I am Pam Varner. This is the first Friday with Pam. This is the first time that I'm doing this without any assistance, so you have to cut me a little bit of slack if I mess up, but hopefully we will not. So, just to let you know, my name is Pam Varner. I'm an accredited teacher with WESTALEE and So Steady, and I've been with them since December of 2015. So I used to do shows. I don't do them anymore. I used to do a lot of traveling. Now I kind of stay close to home. Today it is 105 degrees outside my house, so I'm very happy to be inside sewing. And I think we have enough people to get started. So today, I thought I would do a couple of things that are kind of out of the box with the sampler sets. And I know that there's a lot of educators and we all do things just a little bit differently. So hopefully you'll pick up some tips from me today. And I appreciate the comments and I will try and keep an eye on the comments while I am sewing, but sometimes I'm not the best at doing that. And my little monitor that I use has decided that it doesn't want to go in the other direction. So I wonder if I can put it here and not have it fall down. Ooh, that looks good. Okay. I think I can read the instruction or the questions while I'm stitching out. So, and feel free to ask anything. We'll just see what happens today. Okay. So this is my, oh, let me see. Is this, there we go. Yeah, that's moving. Okay, good. Just making sure everybody can see. So I have a fat quarter sandwich here, and I'm going to play around with a few things. And I'm going to start with the 2-inch simple circle. And the reason I'm going to start with that is because I always test my tension with a 2-inch simple circle. So I think it's a really good idea to test tension every time you sew. So every time I turn on my machine and start a new project, every time I have to fill and change a bobbin, anytime I change a needle, go to lunch, come back from lunch, whatever it is, if I've been away from the machine or had to make any changes, I always test my tension. So that's why I usually leave a large area off of my quilt, like, 2 or 3 inches, and then I can take a piece of fabric and test my tension on the side. So what we're going to do is we're going to, oops, didn't want to do that. I wanted to raise my foot. So, okay, I'm going to pull my bobbin thread. I have a video on YouTube on how to do this, but basically I lower my needle, raise my foot, or raise my needle, raise my foot, and then pull the bottom thread. And I always pull like way more than you ever need. And then I'm going to lower my foot and I'm going to sink my needle right back in there. I'm going to do my circle Oh, my tension looks really good. Nothing has changed since I went to lunch. This area here, if you have problems going from like 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, it usually means that your foot is too high. But my tension looks perfect. So I'm going to leave that. And to give myself a little bit more room, I'm going to actually pull these threads out. So give me just a second to do that. This is what I would do if I made a mistake. Actually, you know what? I don't need to do that. We're just going to leave this here. So the other thing that I like about, and I would never do this on a, this is just testing tension. Otherwise, I would bury these threads. Another thing I like about the 2-inch simple circle is if you're having problems getting your stitch length consistent, one thing that you can do is take the 2-inch simple circle, and this is, like I said, this is a fat quarter sandwich. Take something about that size and fill it with circles. And what I mean by that is you make a circle, and so we're just going to pretend like my needle's down. Make a circle, stop, move the template. Make a circle, stop anywhere I want, move the template. Make another circle. Keep going until this entire thing is filled with circles. And trust me, your stitch consistency will get much better. And it's just something that if I haven't used templates for a really long time, I always go back to the 2-inch circle and just make circles and circles and circles until I get a little more comfortable. The other thing I like about the 2-inch simple circle is it's 360 degrees. So no matter what template you're going to use, you're always going to get that stitch direction. So that's one thing about the 2-inch simple circle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to play with the 2-inch simple circle, and we're going to play with it and the echo guides. Because I know that you all know how to do a 2-inch circle, right? And let's see what happens when we play with the echo guides. So I'm just drawing a straight line, and I'm using a 2 by 18-inch straight ruler. Now, this is a long ruler. It's way too long to use for stitching. So if you order it, get it in the low shank size because it's great for marking. I use this to extend my crosshair lines. I use it for straight line marking all the time. So this is a very valuable tool to me. It's the 2 by 18 inch. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the 2-inch simple circle real quick, and we see that it has lines. It has lines north, south, east, and west. The one on the south is covered up by my blue tape. So I'm going to use these two lines, and I'm always going to line the east and west up with the line that I just drew. I could also do it at an angle like this and use the lines opposite that are at 45 degrees. It doesn't matter which lines you use as long as the lines line up on both sides, okay? And then I'm going to take out my echo guides, and I'm going to start with the smallest echo guide, which is a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to stitch a 1/2 inch inside. We're starting at a 1/4 inch. We're going to do a 1/2 inch. So we are actually stitching 3/4 of an inch. No, we're stitching a 1/2 inch away from the edge, sorry. So the echo guide has this little slit in it, in case you've never seen it, right here. And you can put your thread in there. Ta-da. And then the way that I do this is I kind of put it on and I lower my foot. And I make sure that I can move around. Now, I don't want it too, my foot seems loose today. There we go. I want to make sure that this moves, right? So that's one thing that you need to test to make sure that that goes down. The other is because I'm using low shank templates, I do not want this to go above like that on my templates. Okay, so I have to be careful of that. So I'm just going to pay attention and make sure that I have my foot low enough. If I need to, I can lower my foot. So the way that I tell that is, yeah, I'm going around. Okay, perfect. So on my thread, a little stiletto, I'm gonna pull my thread up here because it's easier to pull the thread that way. Well, I'm off the circle, the line. That's all right, I'll get back on it. Okay, so I lowered the needle, raised the needle, pull the threads from below, and it didn't get one. It's a nice way to start the day, huh? Pick up the thread. I felt it that time. Okay, so I'm going to make a circle. And when I start, I can do one of two things. I can hold these threads very tautly and start stitching and then let go. Or I can hold the threads tautly here, take a stitch or two in place, and then I can let go of these threads on the side. They're secure. They're not going to get sucked into my machine. Everything is going to be fine. You're also not going to get that funky jump stitch at the beginning where it doesn't look like it caught. Okay, I'm going to make a circle. And I'm going to stop where I started. Okay, and now because it's so easy, I'm just going to remove this. It goes right over the needle and the thread. I didn't have to raise my needle, so my needle's still in place. And then I'm going to set up the 2-inch by itself. And I'm going to draw a circle and a half because I want to end up on this left edge. We're trying to come up with an edge-to-edge design. Go all the way around and stop. So now I'm going to do the next one. Same thing. Going to put my echo guide back on. Slips right through. The one thing with the echo guides that I do want to point out to you, make sure you can read what it says on the top. If it's backwards so that it's upside down, it's not going to fit. It has just a little concave in it. I don't really know what the word is, but it fits if you do it this way. Okay, here we go. We're going to make the little circle or the smaller circle. I always do the one with the echo guide first when I'm doing a circle in a circle, and then I do this one. Now, last time I double stitched on the top. This time I'm going to double stitch on the bottom. Whenever you're doing enclosed designs and you're going along a line, you always want to make sure that you double stitch on opposite sides of the line because it takes your eye away from that double stitching. So this time the double stitching is on the bottom. We're going to go around. And we're going to stop right here. And now we're getting kind of a fun design going on here. I'm just going to do a couple more. On this inside circle, it doesn't matter if you start on the top or the bottom because you're going to start and stop in the same spot. It's just where you're stopping and starting, where you're going to start on the right side and end on the left that you have to do this. And you can either go from right to left or you can go from left to right. I went from right to left only in this situation because I had that test circle. When you're practicing these kinds of things, practice with this would be the quilt. Like if this was the border, then behind the needle would be the bulk of the quilt. But you also want to practice with the bulk of the quilt to your left. So you're going to get in situations where you're not always going to be able to have the bulk of the quilt behind the needle. So just remember that when you're practicing edge to edge designs. And look, I'm not exactly on the center line, but that's okay. So let's see, this last one was double stitched on the right side, and now I'm going to double stitch on this left side. There we go. Keep going. I almost stopped. There we go. Now let's see if what happens if we go to a smaller size. So this time we're going to go to this 3/4 inch echo guide. Again, I want to make sure I'm lined up. I want to line up behind the needle and in front down here. I can see, I know that you can't see this behind here, but if I just tilt my head a little bit to the left, I can definitely see that that reference line is on this reference line that I drew on the quilt. So, all right, little circle. And then pull that out. Draw. I like this one. I think it kind of looks like eyeballs. Oh, you know what? I was supposed to double stitch on the right side. So I'm going to come here and then I'm going to backtrack where I came from. Usually I like to go around and around in the same direction, but sometimes you forget what you're doing and it's okay. And it would have been fine if I had double stitched it on the same. Just, you don't want to do it consistently. Line up, everything's good. And now make my little circle. And take it off. Let's see, double stitch on the top or the left. Okay, now, just so you can see the different sizes, we're going to stitch with the 1-inch echo guide. And then I'm going to measure the circles for you so you can see what size they are. This one's a little more difficult to get in, right? Because it's right in there. It's going to make a really tiny circle. But we're going to lower this. There we go. And put my lines on. Stitch my little circle. Take it off. Okay, and come down here. Let's see, bottom or right. Do one more of these. You could also do double, like do one up behind the needle and then one below the needle, but we're just gonna go like this. Not the fastest thing in the world. And now I'm at the end of my border. I would maybe do something in the center, or I would measure it out to where this ended in the corner, and then I would take off in this direction to my left to do the next border. The way to do that is to measure from both ends, because this is a 2-inch circle. So you'd measure from both ends or you'd measure your border, and then in the middle, if you needed to adjust, because your border is probably not going to be exactly 44 inches where you get divisible by 2, it might be 45 inches. And then with that extra inch in the middle, I might just do a couple of smaller circles or some other motif right in the middle of the border to get it so it would connect. So now I'm at the end of my design. I could double stitch over here, but I don't have to. So I'm going to pull my threads and I'm going to show you how I bury them. So I'm going to raise my needle. Now, I'm not moving my fabric. I'm trying really, really hard not to move my fabric. And I've lost my stiletto. So I know I have another one, but just for a second, I'm going to show you this really cool thing. This is a dental tool that a student shared with me. So the next time I went to my dentist, I asked him for it. I'm going to grab the thread. I'm going to hold the thread taut. I'm going to lower my needle. I'm going to raise my needle. Okay. And now I'm going to raise my foot, with the foot raised all the way. And then I can pull this. So now I have this double thread to my left and a single thread to my right. And if I pull them together, I get the bobbin thread. So now I can pull my bobbin thread and I take my bobbin thread and now I can cut my top thread. I want to leave, enough distance to be able to bury. I'm going to pull this. One of these, let me get that out of the way if I can. One of these sides of my bobbin thread, when I pull on it, it makes it, I can feel it coming out from the bobbin. On the right side, in this case, when I pull on it, it lifts the fabric up, right? So this is locked in. The one on the left is coming from the bobbin, so that's the one that I want to cut. So I can cut it like that. Then when I move the fabric away, the little tail just disappears and comes down here underneath my needle. So then I take my self-threading needles. That's not a self-threading needle, Pam. That's a self-threading needle. And I like the ones that look like miniature goalposts where the opening is in the top here. The ones on the side, I've gotten them caught in the batting before, and that wasn't fun. So I like the ones on the top. Everybody's different. Whatever works for you, side or top. Oh, I didn't make my knot. The first thing I want to do is make a knot. So I make my knot like this, and then I take my needle and I put it in this loop. I don't want that loop to get too small. And I put the loop, or I put my needle a few stitches away from where the thread's coming out. So like right about here. I'm hoping I can do this where you can see like that. Okay. And then I pull the thread so that it makes a knot. So the knot is a few stitches away from where the thread comes out. Then I twirl my thread. I twirl it so that I can make sure I get both threads into the needle here. Okay. And then I go into the sandwich where the threads come out, not where the knot's a little farther away. And you're not going to be able to hear this because this microphone's not going to pick it up. But I can feel it. And I felt that the knot buried into there. If you tie the knot too tight up here, then you don't have enough room for that knot to go into the fabric and into the batting. So what you want is you want the the knot to go into the batting. What you don't want is you don't want to poke so far that you bring it up on the back. And I have done that before. It's really not fun. So, and then I take my snips, I pull on this a little, and I snip, and now that's buried. Okay. Now I have, let's take the 12-inch arc and make a line here. I don't know if you have ever done a landscape quilt, but we're just going to do, we're going to pretend like this is a little walkway in a landscape quilt. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do pebbles in here. Now, I don't know about you, but I am not a good free motion quilter. I can't do, oh, I was going to measure these circles for you. Let me do that before we start this next section. Let me get out a ruler. Here we go. So we know that this is 2 inches, right? That circle is 2 inches. And then this little circle here, which was the 5 and the 1/2 inch, made a 1.5 inch circle. The 3/4 inch echo guide made us a 1 inch circle. So there you go. And then the little tiny one with the 1 inch made me a 1/4 inch circle right here. Okay. So those are the kind of circles that you can make with your sampler set and the echo guides. So I think that's really cool. And in addition to the 2 inch, you have a 4 inch circle with your 4 inch arc. You have a 3 inch circle and a 1 inch circle with your clamshell. Then you have a 6 inch circle with your 6 inch, the spiral, 6 inch, excuse me, the 6 inch spiral. And you have a 12 inch circle with a 12 inch arc from the starter set. So with the sampler and the starter set, you have a bunch of circles. All right. But what's really fun about this, I like to do landscape quilts. And sometimes you want pebbles. And I can't stitch pebbles, right? Because I'm just not talented like that. So if I take my 1 inch, oh, I'm going to start up here. If I take my 1 inch and make a circle, and you know what's great about this is it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Let's see, we're going to go to there. Okay, go back in here, pull this taut, get these guys out of the way. Okay. And now I can go that way. See, that wasn't a circle, but it's okay because it's at the edge of the sidewalk here, or this little, we'll pretend like we're somewhere where they have pebble sidewalks. Okay. Oops, I didn't get both of my, I don't like it when my threads are in the way. Okay. Then I just move and make another one. If it's gonna run into it, then I just cut it short. So it's kind of funky looking, but it's all right. And then I'm going to stop here. And I'm going to do one there. And I kind of need to fill in over here. So I'm just going to go down there, come back up, go over here, make another circle. Oop, I hit the thing, so I'm kind of backtracking. Scary, isn't it? But I need to get, oops, over here. So if you're a person who likes the look of pebbles, and then sometimes you go off the template, but you don't, like me, you can't really make pebbles. So I'm going to show you when I get on the other side what I did there. I'm going to slow down a little bit. Make a circle in here. And we'll make another circle over here. I'm going to come here. What I'm doing is I'm stitching down to the edge of the little pathway, and then I'm going to go back up. So I use the template to do that. Or if I come along this way, oh, I needed to be a little bit closer. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. We'll go over to the other side because we have to fill in behind us. And now behind here, I'm kind of naked a little bit, like I'm missing some pebbles that should be filled in. Same down here. So there is a little bit of actual free motion, which I find really, really scary. Let's see if we can. Okay. Now I'm gonna come down here. I've hit the edge of the walkway, right? But I could still keep going. I don't want to do that because I don't want to go off my walkway. So then I'm just going to move the template and come back here a little bit and make another circle, come up like that. Stitch until I hit, move the template, and so check and see if there's any questions. I don't see any questions. If you guys have questions, by all means, ask them. I can look at them every once in a while. I left a little bit there. So I'm going to stop right here just so you can see what we did. See, we did pebbles and we didn't have to do them freehand. So I'm going to take this to the board. I have a board where I have a camera when class is done, when we're done with everything, so you can see what's going on. There we go. All right, now let's see what else we can do with the echo guides. I think this is really fun. The clamshell. So remember I told you you had a 3 and a 2 inch with your clamshell? So here you have, this is 1.5 inches from the middle to the top. You add that together, you get a 3-inch circle. On the bottom, it's 1/2 inch. You add that together, you get a 1-inch circle. So if you don't know how to make circles with these, let me show you with the small one because it's faster. Well, I guess I could do the big one. Yeah, we'll do the small one. So I'm going to pull my thread in here. Let's see. Much better than my free motion pebbles. I know, Karen, right? So we're just going to do 3 of these. So that's my half circle. Then I turn my template around. And what's really important is that everything is lined up, right? And I think it might be. There we go. But we're going to find out real quick. Yeah. Oops. So there's my 1-inch circles. So that's how you can do that with the clamshell. But I want to show you something really fun that you can do because I think this is really neat. I know a lot of people are looking for different designs to do in their borders, in their sashing, or edge-to-edge designs. This you could do edge-to-edge. I mean, yeah, it's really small and it would take you a while, but it wouldn't take you that long. But this is really fun. So we're going to put this, oops, remember, I want to be able to read the 5. I almost put it on upside down. Come on. There we go. Make sure that the... Now, this is obviously not going to fit in here, right? My template is not big enough to accommodate my echo guide. But let me show you what happens. Go down, take a stitch, oops, okay. So you cannot go all the way to the edge. You can only go to the last full hump, okay? Oh, shoot. That went right off of the template. Didn't want to do that. And remember, I can only go to the edge here. I can't go to beyond that. I could go to the top of this if I wanted, but it just makes it more difficult to move the template. Now, I would have a line on my fabric so that everything like went and matched up, and I could use any one of these lines. I could use the lines on the template and put them on my seam. But look at, you get that nice little wave there, which I think is just perfect. You know, it's just a nice little wave, which would, in a very thin 1-inch, 3/4-inch sashing, because this only goes, see how high it goes. Let's see, from there to there, it's 1/4 of an inch. So from the point to the top, it's only 1/4 of an inch. Let's see what happens when we use that on the regular clamshell. Okay, so we're going to start with it at the top and we're going to end at the top. I should have drawn a line. That's all right. I'm just showing you what you can do. Now again, you can't come down here because you'll go too far. So if we wanted to take that all the way to the edge, we would come down like that. Oops, traveled off a little bit. I got to tell you, it's really challenging to stitch when you've got all these people watching you. So let's see what happens when we switch to the next size up. And this time I'm going to draw a line so that it looks a little bit more consistent. My trusty 2x18-inch ruler for drawing a line, a straight line. The other thing when you're drawing straight lines, I just want to, this works with any ruler with the crosshair squares. If you hold this in the middle, by the time you get out here, this is kind of lifting a little bit. So the best thing to do is to put your hands where you want, where you're drawing a line. That holds the template flat against your fabric and you won't get those wiggly lines. So as I'm going, I'm moving my hands down the template. Yeah, you can see that. And doing my line. There we go. And now I have a nice straight line. Except for right here. I have a kind of a nice straight line. I normally don't mark sitting down. I normally mark at a table. Okay, let's see. Performance anxiety. Thanks, Lexi. That explains it. Okay, let's see. Sandy, both or all three sizes together is what I meant, starting from the same point. I'm going to have to go back and see. Sandy, I don't see any other. This is Sandy Feldman. I don't see any other comments. Let me, oh, you know what? Let me check here because I want to address whatever Sandy was talking about. I might have to look at these later. Oh, well. Very hot Las Vegas. Yes, it's very hot in Tucson, Arizona, too. 105. Probably not as hot as Vegas. But it's 116 in Yuma. So my daughter's in Yuma right now. I imagine she's dying while she's there. All right, now we have to find, there it is. All these templates are clear, so. All right, I'm going to put this reference line right here. The reference line that you normally would do your baseline for your clamshells. I'm going to put that on this line. And then I'm going to pull my thread at the top of the hill. Stitch to the top of the hill. Oops. Oh my goodness. Let me start over. I went right off. I have my guide up too high on the foot. There we go. Stop here. Line it up. Do one more. I don't know when I tried this or why. I just thought it was really fun. There we go. So there's the large clam. Let's try it now with the little one. So we're going to put, I'm just picking a line to do, I'm just picking a line on the template. It doesn't matter which line you use, whatever works out for your project, right? Now, when you're doing these small ones, you kind of have to have your stitches closer together, right? So let's keep going. There we go. And next, of course, we're going to try what? The 1 inch, just so you can see all the differences. I think the echo guides are so much fun. Let's not hit your machine, Pam. That's all I need to do. Okay. My foot, someone asked if I'm using a high shank machine and a low shank scallop template. My foot on my machine, it's a Bernina with the Bernina ruler foot. I actually can use any of the templates. I can use low or high. I can even use long arm templates. I find long arm templates to be very cumbersome on a domestic machine, especially, if it was a sit down long arm, that would be different. When I first started, Bernina didn't have a ruler foot, and so I used the WESTALEE foot, and I had to use low shank templates. So I started with low shank templates. I did all of my stitching with low shank templates for a number of years, and then Bernina came out with a 72 foot, and I eventually got it. And I just am so used to using the low shank templates that that's what I use. So now we do recommend that if you're using the 72 foot on a domestic machine, that you use high shank templates. That's what So Steady recommends. So now that the cat's out of the bag, you know that I don't do that. No, I just have to be careful in the beginning. So this is where I would test to make sure that I'm not going to go up. See, that's not, it's up. I have to lower the echo guide. Okay. Oops. It does need to at least stay on there when I lift the foot. Let's see what happens. It's like my mantra when I do ruler work. Let's see what happens. There we go. I wonder if this will work. I don't know. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so then Sandy said using all your echo guides together with one circle. Oh, that sounds like fun. Let's see we're going to see what that looks like in just a minute. But okay, let's see. This is not going to give me much of anything, I don't think. A little bit of a curve. You could do this if you had really thin sashing. But personally, if it's super thin sashing, I tend not to even stitch in it. Or maybe even use a decorative stitch. That would be fun. A lot of us have these, like, hundreds and thousands of decorative stitches that we never use. So there's the small one. Let's see what happens on the big one. So we're going to have to come up a little bit. And we use that line right there. And we have to stop. There we go. And then I'm going to do the one circle with all of them. I'm actually using a 40 weight glide thread in my machine. So I have 40 weight in the top needle, and then I have a 50 weight thread in my bobbin. And little secret, my bobbin thread is water soluble. So I can play all I want on this sandwich. And then I have like 5 of these. And when they're all ready, I throw them in the washing machine when they're all filled. And I put them in a mesh bag and I wash them. And then the top thread just kind of falls out and the bobbin thread dissolves. And then I press these and I can reuse them. So you can also experiment on paper, which is great. But sometimes you want to actually play with fabric. So this will save you some money when you're practicing. So Linda, this is a 72 foot and this is my my Echo Guide. Now it could be that your Echo Guide got stretched out if you put it on upside down. So I would try it again just to see. All right, we're gonna do, and I don't have a line. Let me draw a line real quick so that I have some kind of straight line here. I just grabbed the first straight edge I could put my hand on. So Sandy wanted to see all 3 circles inside. I'm going to push that up a little bit. There we go. Pull this on the line. There we go. Okay. So we'll start with I'm going to stitch on here. Okay. And I normally wouldn't do this, but I'm going to trim this thread just because it's going to keep getting in my way. So put this one on. Excuse me. You could also, with this design, mirror it next to this circle. That would look fun. Again, I would never just cut these threads at the end of a design. I only do that in demos. So do as I say, bury your threads. Don't do as I do. You can also lock them. So let's see. Joyce, it would be interesting to use the 3-inch scallop and stack the design. I just would have to practice that on paper before I actually tried it. And I don't want to waste everybody's time like figuring out where to line things up. So, but I would love to see that if you do it. Let's see. Thanks, Lexi. Yeah, so there's that. That looks kind of fun. All right, let me get another fat quarter. See now, how are we? Let's see. We've been here almost an hour. There is a couple more things I want to show you for sure. And then, so just bear with me. Give me a little bit more time. If you have to leave, I understand. You can always come back and watch. But I'm looking for questions. I'm not seeing any questions. So if I missed a question, um, please, by all means, let me know. Okay, so next up, we're going to play with the number 4 spin effects that's in your sampler set. All of these are in your sampler set except for the echo guides and this guy that I haven't done anything with, but just, you know, I always have him around. And I'm going to use the top center marking line and the bottom center marking line. I'm going to pull on the line. I remembered this morning. I haven't done this in a while, so hopefully I won't mess up. Okay. You know how we keep telling you, don't think of your template as the entire template, but think about using part of the template. So that's all we're going to do is use part of the template. So I'm just stitching part of it, right? I just line it up on my line, stitch part and stop. Line it up on the line. There we go. Now, let's say we're at the edge. We're going to move up a little bit. We need to have some way to mark where the edge is. So what I'm going to do, no, that's not going to work. See where the word spin effects up here on the top? I'm running that right above this edge right here. So, and I'm putting the center line right on the top of my Now, when I move this over, same thing. I want spin effects to be right on top of this, the top of my spin effects. And there we go. And now that I got and I'm stopping when I hit the stitches. And there you have it. Another little design that you can put wherever you want, in a sashing, in a border, edge to edge, all around. You could also do this with a larger spinifex. If you had like an 11.5-inch spinifex, you could do a much larger design and do edge to edge all over your quilt. So there's that. All right, I have one more thing I have to show you. Dragon scales, there you go. Yeah, it looks like a wave, huh? It's kind of fun. All right. This is one of my favorite edge-to-edge designs. Now, in your sampler sets, you have 2 pins, right? You have 2 pins. So we're going to use the Circles on Quilt spinning wheel number 36. This is my favorite. I saved my favorite for last. Okay. I want to come about there. So right about there is where I want to put my pin. And normally I would measure this, right? It's a 5.5-inch design. From the point to the center is half a 5.5, which is 2 3/4. But I'm just going to say right about there-ish. There we go. And I'm going to stick a pin up through the bottom. I don't have the kind of tape that sticks well, so I tend to just do the pin. And then, so that I don't cut myself, poke myself, I take a pin more and I pop it right on top. Boink. Okay. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. So now what I need to do is I'm getting out my outer rim tool. You can, if you want to, just measure. So 5.5 and 5.5 is 11. So you would measure 11 inches from this point to the next point, right? Because you'll see it when we get this figured out. Actually, it's 5.5 inches, sorry. So we're going to use 11 inches on the outer rim tool, which is this hole right here. There we go. So this distance from here to here is actually 5.5 inches. Sorry, I didn't mean to say 11. It's 11 on the outer rim. And I'm going to make a little mark. I'm also going to put a pin in this one. Okay. So get out another pin and another pin more. These pin mores are things that they sell. You can also use a pencil eraser. Pin mores are silicone, I believe. But you can use an eraser. There's other things that you can use. You can also take a piece of, if you don't have anything to protect yourself from getting poked. Just a sec, sorry. Sometimes I have a hard time coming up where I'm supposed to. You can also take a piece of painter's tape. I love painter's tape. And just kind of fold it over like that. And that'll protect you from getting poked too. Okay, so if you don't have anything to put on top of it, those are some options. Whenever I mark my quilt and I'm going to use a pin, I leave the pin in it while I'm marking. Like I put it in the center of the crosshair square or whatever. And then I put this on it when I carry it to my machine, because doing this, my pin's not going to fall out. So I don't have to worry about that. All right. So now we're going to take the pin off of this one. And we are going to, now this is going to be fun because we don't have any markings here, right? This is an edge to edge design where all you need is a center line, and then you would go up farther and make another center line. And we're going to pull, I'm thinking just a second. I'm going to pull on B. This is just the beginning. It doesn't matter where you pull, and I'm going to show you why. Normally you stitch from A to B, right? And then you move the template. This time we're going to stitch from B to B and go all the way around, because we're going to close this off. And when you see me finish this design, you'll see why. Okay, there we go. Move my threads, and I'm going to stitch all the way around. Normally I would stop at A, but I'm going to go to B, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to move my template. Now, I don't have any markings, so this is kind of scary. What do I do now? Where do I put it? I'm going to use the markings on the template. So there are lines on the template right here that I can put on top of what I just stitched. And then that way I don't have to have markings, and I can't see the pin to put my template back. Here we go. Okay, so now we're going to stitch to A, and then we're going to go all the way around to A. Going to move the template. And the only difference between this and the classic spinning wheel that you're used to stitching out is that this bottom down here, I don't know if you can see it. I wish I knew where my stiletto went. This is closed all the way. So, all right, here we go. We are off and running. Go to A. Okay, now this is where it gets fun. See, normally we would be right on this line, like my reference line is on top of there, that's on the thing, but I don't want to stitch this one yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, trying to get that back there, I'm going to stitch from B to A. And the reason that I'm going left instead of right is because it's easier for me to see the reference lines on the B side of the template because I have tape on the A side of the template holding the door shut. So then I go to B. I can take this little hooky here and put it on the curve on here, and then I can stitch. And this time I'm going to go from B to A, but I'm not going to close it off. And this is the important part. On one side, you don't close while you're stitching. And then I turn it this way, and I create this one. A funky stitch there. And now this one, line up on both sides. This one I do want to close it off. So I'm going to go to the A direction. You could also do the B direction and then come back and stitch it a couple of times. Now what I do is I just stitch across and close this up. Here we go. Now this one, it's already closed off, but it's going to be double stitched. What I need to do is end up on this point. Okay. So I'm going to stitch around. And then I'm going to keep going. And now I'm going to stop on the point. Okay. Before I go any further, I'm going to take out my pin. And now I'm going to get my outer rim tool. This isn't going to work very well, I don't think. I just realized I'm not going to have enough room to go that way. So I'm going to get out my little ruler. And I'm going to measure 5.5 inches from here out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Well, shoot, I thought I could use that. You could measure more out if you wanted to. The problem with that is that the fabric tends to kind of bunch, like shrink up as you're stitching. And so if you do too many outs, you're going to end up with your pins not in the right spot where they need to be. If you only go 2 out, you're pretty good. Oh. Okay. Cover this up so I don't hurt myself. Now, I haven't raised my needle. My needle is still in the same spot. I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to put this over here. Well, that's not right. It should have been 11 inches, right? Oh, guys, why aren't you catching me? Oh, dear. I put it in the wrong spot. It's 11 inches. It's not 5.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There we go. Is that what it was? No, I don't think so. I think it was 5. Yeah, it was 5.5. There we go. Okay. This just doesn't seem right to me for some reason, but we're going to find out. Told you it's been a while since I've done this. We'll see if this is a problem when we get over there. I think it's going to be. All right. So now, oh, this is a problem. I measured 5 inches instead of 5.5. So we're totally off on everything. Okay, we're going to take a little commercial break. How's everybody doing? Oops. I caught the thread. Yikes. So this should be from that mark. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did 5.25 instead of 5.5. And then this comes out to 11, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Those pesky rulers getting me all confused on my halves and my quarters. See, it's not really easy to stick a pin in here when the needle is so close. That's why I do 2 out. Let's see. Come on, there we go. Go in there. Come all the way through. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Oh, yep, it's 5.5, Carol, thanks. All right, where's my other pin more? Put that on there. Boing. All right, so now that we've had some laughs at my expense, I always enjoy that. Now I put the pin on. There we go. So I want you to notice that I have I do use blue tape to close up my templates that have the gates. The slots are just beautiful, and I'm very envious of all of you that have slot templates. So, but I've done it in such a way that I can peel this and see how that opens up like a little door, and then I can just close it back down. So, okay, if you remember on this one, uh, we double stitched on the top over here to the left. So here we're going to double stitch on the bottom. So we have to go around. And you have a couple of options. We need to swing towards me, right? So we're going to stop at A this time. And we're going to go like that. And we're going to stitch all the way around. But we have to keep this closed. Oops. Go back here and then this way. Now, if you forgot to close this side, right? We are stitching away. Oh, I forgot to close it. Stitch the other side closed and then come back this way to get to the edge here. Okay, but remember here, we're not going to stitch anything. We're just going to go from B to A. Bingo. And then we use this reference line on the template to make sure that we're on the stitching. Okay. Don't close it up because we have to come back. Line that up, line that line up. This side don't close. And now this is lined up. Go all the way to B. Oops, went too far. Turn this. Make sure everything's lined up. Went too far there. Okay. And now this one, double stitch above the line. Okay. As you're leaving the motif, double stitch above the line. Okay. Now, what I would do, right, is measure out here. But we're just going to do 3 so you can see. I can take that pin out because I don't need it. And then I put, oh, I just dropped it. Okay. Oh, I did it wrong again. How did I do that? It's a 5.5-inch design. Is this not a 5.5-inch design? It's 5.5-inch design. So from center to center, what did I do wrong? I'm gonna have to reevaluate this. From center to center is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. So this was, did I do 4.5? 1, 2, 3. I did 4.5. Oh my gosh, you guys, I can't count. That's crazy. It's the end of the week. I didn't even drink yesterday. So no excuse, none whatsoever. Lexi, what I would do is I would play on paper, right? And then I would do the measuring. Because this is 5.5 inches. It's the size of the design. So, you know, this particular template also comes all the way up to 11.5 inches, right? So it would be 11.5 inches from center to center. You just have to measure it correctly. Apparently, I didn't do that today. My bad. I'm sorry. There we go. See, if I'd measured 5.5 inches, I would have been fine. All right, so remember where we're at? We need to do the bottom first, or we need to double stitch on the bottom, right? We had double stitched on the top, now we're double stitching on the bottom. And stop at A. And then we're going to go around. This time, I just want to show you. I'm going to forget that I needed to close this up, right? I'm going to stitch from B to A. Because it's just like stitching from A to B, right? But I'm just going backwards. So I'm stitching B to A instead of A to B. And then I'm here and go, oh, I forgot to close that up. Okay, not a problem. I'm just going to keep on going. This one I have to skip. Now that I'm on the other side of the line, right, I need to remember to close my stitches. So I'm going to go here. And this is going to be double stitched, but that's fine. Double stitching every once in a while doesn't hurt anybody. And then I'm going to come back here, close it up, and then go to there. And then, let's see, I think I'm going to go to start it, like go around that way. I don't like to go backwards. I like to keep continuing. I'll explain what I just said in a second. So I would prefer to go around and around, then go around and go back. That's just me. So now I'm in the center, and I'm going to double stitch this. Turn my template, make sure everything's lined up. I'm going to stitch to here. And stitch to there. And now if this was at the edge of my quilt, I may stop But I just kind of like for consistency to have the double stitching all in the same place throughout the design. And then I would pull and bury my threads. So, honestly, if I didn't answer a question that you had, now is the time to ask again. So I apologize if I missed it. This also comes in a 3.5-inch design, and you can buy a whole set from 3.5 inches up to 11.5 inches. So it's 3.5, 5.5, 7.5, 9.5, and 11.5 with an echo on them. But you could do this with the 3.5 in a 4-inch border, and that would be really nice. So let me move the camera over to let's see, the board. I have a board. That's what I call it. So this is my ironing board. There you go. So I have a board and then I have a machine. So I'm going to go over to the board and then just going to show you. I'm going to check for questions. I'm trying to think of what else I can tell you. That'd be fun. So this is what we did in the very beginning. So we have the circles with the 1/2 inch echo, the 3/4 inch echo, and the 1-inch echo. And then we did all 3 of them in one circle, which is super fun. And then we made 1-inch circles with just the 1/2 of the clamshell, the small side. And then with the 1-inch echo guide, we made pebbles, which, you know, these look so much better than I could do free motion. I mean, at least they look like pebbles and they don't look like whatever I would do. And then these down here are the 1-inch echo guide on the small side of the clamshell and on the 3-inch side of the clamshell, the larger size. Then we go to the 3/4 of an inch echo guide on the clamshell. And then we go to the 1/2 inch on the clamshell. This is my favorite right here of the clamshells. This is my favorite. I really like that. So there's that. And then over here, we did just using half of the spin effects, right? We just did half of it. And then here we did the circles on quilt spinning wheel number 36, 5.5 inches from the sampler set. So this point to this point is 5.5 inches. So center to center is 5.5 inches. And we wouldn't have been in so much trouble if I had just measured properly, but I didn't. So that's why I had to keep changing things. But there you go. So let's see. I'm just going to check for questions, like I said. So let me do this. Let's see what we got here. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any questions. So I do want to thank everybody for being here. Again, I'm here the first Friday of every month at 1 o'clock Pacific time. And you're always welcome to come. If you want to get in touch with me for whatever reason, like you have something that you want shown, you want to see a different perspective on, you know, say feathers or clamshells or whatever. Just send me an email and I'll put it on a list of things to discuss in a future First Friday with Pam. So I'm typing in my email address, and you are welcome to just making sure it's correct. You're welcome to contact me at any time. Questions, whatever. So let me see, get down here to the bottom. You are welcome to everybody that's saying thank you. I appreciate it. And I am going to sign off. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Have fun quilting. If it's really hot where you're living, it's a really good idea to just kind of stay indoors and try and stay cool. If you have perfect summer weather and you're out at the beach, you're out at the lake, you're out in your backyard, have fun doing that too. So, all right, everybody, until next time, I will see you and thanks again for being here. Bye.